Shalom, shalom, shalom to everyone watching. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel, and we're continuing our series on the Sefer Ilkarim. We're in book number 4, and we're in chapter 29 of the 4th book of Rabbi Joseph Albo. Of course, this series is being done in the memory and merit of a good friend, George Albo, who is known as Natan Yehuda Albo, and we're doing it in his memory, in his sechut. We're very close to finishing the Sefer by video, and then later on it will be presented as a memoriam book in ebook form. So let's continue with chapter 29, book number 4. And we will now treat the topic of reward and punishment, says Rabbi Albo, which is the third and general principle of divine law, and it takes place of the purpose intended by all laws. It is true that he who serves God from love does not concern himself about the reward and punishment, having no other purpose except to fulfill the will of God, of the object of his love, as the rabbis say. Be not like the servants who serve their master in order to receive a compensation. But this does not mean that there is no reward and punishment. Heaven forbid. The above statement simply means that one who serves God from love is not prompted to the service by love and reward and fear of punishment, though he believes that there is a reward that is in store for those who believe and fear God and think on his name. All of this reward is nothing in his sight as compared for and with the purpose of fulfilling the will of the object of his love. That is, service of this sort leads to the ultimate reward and punishment that is the intended in all laws. Now, inasmuch as the purpose of divine law is different from all of the conventional laws, as we said before, we laid it down as a general principle of divine law. We analyze the possibilities that follows. Either there is a reward and punishment, or there's not. If there is, it is there either all corporeal in this world, or of a spiritual, or in another world, or that there is both corporeal reward in this world and spiritual reward in the next. The opinions we find is divided in the matter of reward and punishment, and there are 4 classes according to the 4 possibilities of which the situation admits. Some believe that there is no reward and punishment, either corporal or spiritual. Some believe that there is both corporeal and spiritual reward, and some believe that there is corporal reward and no spiritual, and some believe that there is spiritual reward but no corporal. The difference of opinion is based upon the division among men concerning the nature of the soul. Some say that the human soul is not superior to the animal soul, except that man has more shrewdness than the other animals in devising means and inventing arts necessary for arranging his life in a complete manner. In all the animal world, some are superior to others in this respect. For this reason, those who hold this opinion think that there is no reward or punishment at all, either corporeal or spiritual. They hold that man is governed by the accident like the other animals, concerning that which divine purpose is directed, whether to the preservation of the species, and this opinion has been given to the death blow of philosopher, who says that the human soul cannot be compared to the animal soul. The latter have only knowledge of the particulars, and while man has knowledge of the universals, moreover, man can perceive a thing when in substance, in accident, and so on. all of which shows that the great difference between the human soul and the animal soul. Hence, there must be a special purpose that is particular to human soul, as we explained before. Hence, there is no spiritual perfection in animals, and there must be such in man. Now, the Jewish sages also were opposed to the opinion and maintained that there ought to be reward and punishment for man, either spiritual in the world to come or corporeal in this world, though divine providence, as we've explained when we treated the idea or concept of providence. Not easy having only one hand available. Let's see how we can do this. So I can open the bottle of water. There we go. All right. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihiyah bidvaro. And since we see that there are other powers that disappear when the union between the soul and body is sundered, they said that the power of understanding, which has also and will also disappear along with the occupation which already has it, and therefore the human soul will cease to exist like the soul of animals, and the one will be like one that died like the others. So the great philosophers, however, refuted this opinion, the idea of the eternity of the soul, and this opinion saying that the variety of activities emanating from an agent does not necessarily prove the multiplicity in the essence of the agent, as we've explained above, nor does the cessation of life of the body necessarily prove that the cessation of the rational soul, any more so than the cessation of the power of growth after 40 makes it necessary in cessation of the soul. The body is an instrument through which some of the activities of the soul become visible. Hence, when the instrument is destroyed, these functions also disappears, like nutrition, and growth and sensation, but does not follow from this the essence of the soul should disappear. For the contrary, the reason grows stronger after the age of 40, when the corporal powers grow weaker. Moreover, we read that this reason is not like the corporal powers, for it can be perceived itself as well as an instrument, which is not the case in the corporal powers. And they adduce, they adduce also strong and irrefutable arguments to show that the human soul cannot be compared with the soul of an animal. But there is no need to expatiate upon this matter. An indication of erroneous character of this opinion. Maimonides says in his introduction, in his commentary of Avot, that the term soul, in its application to the soul of man and that of the animal, is a homonym. And though we see the functions emanating from the one are similar to those emanating from the other, it does not follow from this that the respective agents are in essence similar. The light of the sun and the light of the lamp are similar in that they illumine the dark places, but this does not show the agency are alike. The light of the sun is permanent and does not go out. It illuminates also where the sun does not shine. While a lamp goes out, it's not a permanent and illumined only where the rays strikes. And it does not follow, therefore, that because of the soul of the animal is destroyed, the human soul too is destroyed and ceases to be when it is separated from the body. Hence, and since they admit that this is a superior to the soul of an animal. The argument which the Sadducees and the Boethicians adduce in this favor of their view from the fact that no mention is made in the law of Moses of the spiritual reward, but only of the corporal. The fact are not as they say. This argument of the Sadducees. That once you die, that's it, no more. And that there's no mention in the law of Moses of the spiritual reward, but only corporal. The fact are not as they say. The corporal reward is mentioned only in those cases where there is no reason for spiritual reward, and the spiritual reward is mentioned by allusion, for a reason which we will explain later with the help of God. The third opinion is of converse of the second, and that is adopted by some of our rabbis, who say that there is no reward for good deeds in this world. And they adduce an argument from this experience in a father who says to his son, "Go up to the tower and bring me some pigeons." And the son goes up upon the towers and sends away the mother pigeons and takes the young. And upon his return he falls down and is killed. Where is his good, and where is the length of days? The answer is that scriptural promises that it may be well with thee has reference to do with the world which is wholly good, and the promise which says that thou mayest prolong thy days, and that refers to the world which is altogether long and eternal. The world that which is wholly good is altogether long and is none other than the world to come, after death. And the promise has a reference to spiritual reward. The opinion is that also adopted by the great schools of the philosophers, that some learned men of the Torah follow them. Their opinion is that man has no perfection qua man except after death. And when the intellect is separated from matter in the corporeal things, then follows that which from the fact of rationale alone can be the thing which are graded according to the decree of understanding. The one that understands more is superior than one that has to understand less. And therefore, man superior to animals is actually obviously consistent in his reason, and his perfection must be a degree of excellence which is based upon his intelligence alone. For if it consisted in the corporeal thing which is common to him, the animals of the perfection of rational superiority which were given to him above the animals would be tantalizing punishment rather than a degree of perfection. So for the animals, being devoid of reason and intelligence, are not troubled by the thought of misfortune, which is fated to come upon them, and not be grieved by the knowledge that they must die, as man does, nor do they anticipate an imagination of pain, which is come to them, and therefore worry about nothing, and they come upon them and live in sorrow. No, the greater his power of understanding, the more does he grieve for the evil that is destined to come upon him. For this reason they say that it is not likely that the perfection is attained by reason as something corporal that is common to lower animals, but that must be of something which distinguishes man from animal, his intellect, and not a corporal thing. This is the opinion of the philosophers in this matter. Although he denies providence, nevertheless he believes that the soul of man has a perfection after death, which occurs when it's separated from the body. And man and this is the opinion of the philosophers in this manner. Although he denies providence, nevertheless he believes that the soul of man has a perfection after death, when it is separated from the body. And many of the sages of the Torah follows this opinion, says Rabbi Albo. Now, there's a difficulty in this explanation. For though there are arguments which are sound reply to the second opinion, they do not prove that man's perfection is after death. For since perfection and permanence can pertain only to a rational thing, as they maintain, the rational power in man is merely a preparation or capacity. How can we conceive of it surviving the body, since its capacity cannot exist by itself? statement is in reply to this, namely that the acquired intellect becomes a substance, something, the concept, so that the intellect and the concept becomes identical, is unintelligible. For the rational faculty of man is hilek, material power, whose nature is to cease to exist except through the activity of understanding. How can this activity exist by itself? And how can we conceive of its identifying itself with the active intellect? All of this is very likely, and as we have explained before, hence some scholars say that the soul is a spiritual substance, having independent existence and capacity of understanding. It cannot therefore cease to exist, and since it's an independent substance, and it feels pleasure according to the activity in the area of cognition, but this is not correct. Either, for even though the soul is an independent substance, or nevertheless, since the capacity of cognition, the perfection of this capacity would be in vain, if the soul could not obtain this cognition, and not 1 in 1,000 would attain the perfection of the soul, and possibly no one at all, as we have explained above. Hence, unless we say that the perfection of cognition consists in an understanding of the axiom, but if it's so, then the righteous and the wicked would stand on the same plane, an idea that has never occurred to anyone before. Now, it seems to us, therefore, the proper and correct opinion of the Torah is that the soul is a spiritual substance, having the capacity to understand the service of God, and not mere understanding. Hence, when a person attains the degree of understanding of God's service by reason of attaining some idea of the notion of God, be it great or small, be it immediately attains a certain degree of a life in the world to come. This is what the rabbis also say, commenting on the verse. Let me clear my nose here. And my throat is very dry. It seems therefore to us proper to correct the opinion of the Torah that the soul is a spiritual substance, having the capacity to understand the service of God and not mere understanding. Hence, when a person attains any degree of understanding of God's service, by reason of attaining some idea or notion of God, be it great or small, be it immediately attains a certain degree of the life in the world to come. The rabbis also say, commenting on this verse, a seed shall serve him. When do small children deserve the future life? And it says that in the manner of Rabbi Meir, as soon as they were able to say Amen, as it is written, open ye the gates, that the righteous nation that keepeth faithfulness, emunim, may enter in. Read not that keepeth shomer, emunim, faithfulness, but rather, as it says, she'omer, amens, or amanim. Meaning of this is made very clear from our explanation above, namely that the soul's perfection consists in understanding the service of God, whatever it be, so that when the child attains the understanding of the least important service, example, to say Amen to any benediction, he merits some degree of the future life. This is in agreement with what we have written before, namely that a man attains a certain degree of the future life by the fulfillment of one precept, one commandment. The soul is independent spiritual substance. It is also clear from the statements of our rabbis that the world is to be maintained only by the breath of the mouth of school children. It is said by Rabbi Papa to Abaya, "What about your breath and mine?" Said the later, "You cannot compare breath that is without sin to breath that is with sin." Now, the soul is not independent substance. How can the school children who have attained a very small degree of cognition be superior to Abaye, and Rabbah, who said a very high degree, without doubt. The truth is that there are very small degree in God's service on the part of the one who is not attained, who is not stained by sin. It avails more than the high degree of one who is stained by sin. For the soul, being independent, spiritual substance depends upon the degrees of worth, upon the measure of its impurity and its worship of God by fulfilling the commandments. And this is the reason why Moses was grieved, because he could not enter the land and perform commandments actually. He was not grieved about attaining the ideas, for there is no doubt that Moses attained the degree where he could comprehend by means of understanding, but he was eager to carry out the commandment in practice. The divine service with understanding, which gives perfection and performance to the soul, as we have explained. The rabbis discuss the question whether the soul is in essence hylic, material power of an independent substance. 2.5 years, we are told, the school of Shammai and Hillel disputed the question whether it was worthwhile for man to have been created. The one said it would have been better for man not to have been created than to have been created. The other said it was better for man to have been created than not to have been created. And they took a vote and decided it would have been better if man had not been created. But now that he has been created, he must be careful about his conduct. Now it seems to us that he who said it was better for man to have been created held that man's soul is a hylic power of the philosophers. What the philosophers think. And hence he said that there was a better for him to have been created, because the existence is always better than non-existent. In other words, or on the other hand, one who said that it would have been better for man not to have been created believed that the soul is an independent spiritual substance, not as a result of the creation of the soul. It may be destroyed and severely punished, and hence he said it would have been better if it had not been created, that the soul had been put into a human body. Solomon also said, but better than both, it is he that has not yet been. Now, if the soul has this material power, how could he say that it's non-existence? The thing is better than both. And here we find the battle is going back and forward as we look so how could he say that a non-existent thing that is better than both? How can non-existence be better than existence? Since all existence is good, as the Bible testifies, and God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And without doubt, then this is the opinion, is that the soul is spiritual. It has a spiritual substance, and not a material power. And hence, this is correct opinion that one that is in agreement with the Torah. They voted and decided that it would have been better for man if he had not been created. And they added that he must be careful of his conduct, so the soul may not be destroyed or punished. Now from this, the mystics, wonderful mystic, the Kabbalists, derived the doctrine of transmigration, which I'm not going to get into. Since the true opinion is that according to Torah, so they argued that the soul is not a material power, but an independent substance, as we have said before, then just as a spiritual substance entered the human body when it was created, it was possible that after having functioned in one human body, it may return and live in another. But this is not correct, says Abarbanel. I'm sorry, it says Rabbi Albo. The divine wisdom did indeed decree the spiritual substance. by which its nature is not a free agent, it should dwell in a human body, in order that it will become a free agent in the body, because there's no doubt a valuable quality in it. This is because it was a free agent and they were not. Nevertheless, this is why a soul, which has already functioned in a body and has become a free agent, returns to the body again, is the question. Why should the seminal drop have the capacity to receive a soul which has already functioned in a body, rather than to receive a soul which has not functioned in the body and is a free agent? A still less likely view is that of those who say the human souls are transmigrated into bodies of animals. God knows. I love Rabbi Alba because he puts the true doubt where it's supposed to be. The fourth opinion is that somehow reward is corporeal in this world and some is spiritual in the next world and after death. And this is the opinion of our sacred Torah. So what is the opinion of the sacred Torah? The fourth one, that reward is corporeal in this world, and that some is spiritual in the next world, after we die. This is the opinion of our sacred Torah, which makes specific material promises to the righteous, like the patriarchs, and others, which are also spiritual promises for the soul, for the soul alone, and punishment of reward, as he will explain later with the help of God in chapter 30. And this is also the opinion of our rabbis in many other places, particularly in the Sefer, where commenting on the verse of Deuteronomy that says that your days may be multiplied, and days will be multiplied in this world, as in the days of your children in the time of Messiah, as in the days of heaven above the earth in the world to come. And it is clear from what the Bible promises for the fulfillment of the commandment's reward in this world and the next. And thus, this is a general statement of the human opinion concerning reward and punishment, and the punishment of our Torah on this subject. And so we end here, chapter 29, and chapter 30 goes right into play into this area of spiritual reward after we go through death. And here we'll look at that in our next video. Shalom, shalom.